الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين وحبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين الهداة المهديين واللعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم أجمعين إلى يوم الدين. My dear brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum jami'an wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Most of the Muslim countries are poor and uncivilized. Job opportunities are scarce and not very good education is offered. And most of the governments of the Muslim countries are run by dictators, and thus you'll find not too much freedom, not too much rights are given to the citizens of those countries. But then, so when you look at the picture of these Muslim countries, you see it's a very gloomy picture. You know, it's a very backward society whose rights are very limited. But then when you come to the West, you find a completely different picture. It's a much brighter picture. You find in the West, there is much more job opportunities, much better education offered in the West. The best schools, universities, colleges of the world are in the West. The best hospitals in the world are in the West. Much more freedom, much more rights are given in the West. Now, there is no country in the world that gives full freedom, yes, but at least if you compare the West to the Middle East, there's no comparison. A person living in the West has much more rights, has much more freedoms than a person that lives in the Muslim countries. And because of all these positive factors in the West, the negative factors in the East, what's the result? The influx of immigrants. All these people that abandon their homes, they leave their countries, their towns, their villages, and they flee to the West. And you find they're all looking for a better life. They're all searching for a better life, whether it may be because they came because they were looking for better job opportunities, whether it was because they wanted a good, better education, or maybe because some of them, they had to flee their countries because they were persecuted in their countries, either for religious reasons or for political reasons. So you find that they had to flee and seek asylum in a country in the West. The point is, they all went, they came to these countries in the West seeking a better life. And now today, in the US, according to some statistics, there are about 6 to 7 million Muslims living in the United States, most of which are immigrants or the children of immigrants, the second, third, fourth generations. Either I'm an immigrant or my father, grandfather, great-grandfather is. And anytime you have this, anytime you have a people of a certain country, of a certain culture and heritage, when they abandon their culture, when they leave their culture and they join and live and settle with a people of a different culture and heritage, there's an issue that rises that is called the issue of cultural integration and social assimilation. That you find these people, they begin to assimilate into the new society. And they begin to adapt the culture and heritage of this new society. They begin to speak like them. Their dialect is affected. They begin to adapt their teachings and their beliefs. They begin to speak and talk like them and walk like them and dress like them and eat like them. So they adapt their culture and they adapt their heritage. They become just like them. And what happens is anytime that this happens, anytime that they begin to assimilate into a new culture, there's a problem that rises. And that problem is called the problem of identity crisis. We fall into an identity crisis. How do I identify myself? Do I identify myself as being a person of my origin, where I came from, where my parents came from, or of my new culture that I live in, that I have settled in? So if I came from the Middle East, do I identify myself as being an Arab, an Indian, an Afghan, Pakistani, whatever? Or I'm American, I'm a Canadian, I'm British, wherever I'm living. How do I identify myself? Here, you'll find three types of people. You'll find on one extreme, some people, and usually the older generation, they will still identify themselves as being from the country they came from. So even if he lives 50 years in the US, you find he can barely speak a few words of English. You find that he still dresses like how he would in his own country. He still eats the same foods. He still want to eat the biryani and the kebab and, you know, all the other traditional foods. He's not going to eat the American foods. He says, if I live here 100 years, I'm going to stay Indian, Arab, Arab or whatever, Iranian, wherever I'm from. I'm going to stick to the heritage I came from. He's on one extreme. And then you find some people that are on the other extreme. You see, they completely melt into the new society. They assimilate 100%. And this is the new generation, the second, third generation. I'm no longer Indian. I'm no longer Arab. I'm no longer Afghan, Pakistani, African, whatever. I'm American. He dresses like them. I don't like the foods my parents eat. I like eating pizza, hamburger, fries, and all the other American foods. I'm not going to eat biryani and all of those other foods. So he associates himself as an American. And he wants to forget about his heritage. I have nothing to do. He tries to speak with a completely American accent. That if you see him, you can't tell that he's a Muslim or he comes from a different country. Some of them, they go to the extent of changing their names. Muhammad turns into Michael. Ali turns into Alex. My father, he says, when I came to the US, I saw someone, he's from a very well-known family from the Middle East. He's a Muslim. And his name is Muhammad Jum'ah. He changed his name in the US to what? Michael Friday. Jum'ah in the Arabic language means Friday, right? So he changed his name to Michael Friday. He's blonde, he looks just like an American. You can't even tell this guy comes from an Arab country. So they completely melt into the new society. That's the other extreme. And then you find some people in the middle. They take a middle course. He says, I'm Arab American. I'm Indian American. I'm this American, wherever I came from. So I'm both. Neither that way, that extreme, nor the first extreme. So it's very complicated. Some people, they have an identity crisis. Who am I? Am I from that country or am I from the US or wherever country that I live right now in the West? And this is called, as I said, an identity crisis. But it doesn't stop here. But then you find there's another factor that enters the situation that's added to the equation that even complicates things more. And that's the factor of faith. That not only now do I have an identity crisis between, am I from the country that I came from, that my parents came from, or am I an American? Now there's also Islam. I'm also Muslim. So now how do I classify myself? How do I identify myself? You'll find many people, they'll say that I'm all three. I am Indian, Muslim, American. I am Afghan, American, Muslim, or wherever I came from. And there's nothing wrong with that. So I identify myself as associating myself to three things. Islam, the country of my origin, and the country that I live in now. And there is nothing wrong with that. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Now if that's possible, there's nothing wrong with that. I can identify myself as three things: Muslim, Arab American, Muslim Indian American, Muslim African American. There's nothing wrong with that. But however, you'll find sometimes that these 2-3 factors will conflict with each other. They will clash, and I can't be both. I can't identify myself as both. I will have to prioritize. I will have to choose one and relinquish the other, compromise the other. So yes, maybe I identify myself as being an American or as an Arab or Indian, whatever, from my culture. But then there is my religion. And sometimes they will clash. Let me give you an example. For example, let's say one year, Laylatul Qadr, or the day of Ashura, the night of Ashura, it coincides with New Year's Eve. Here, being a good American, and you being on that extreme, being a person that's 100% American, means how do I spend that night, New Year's Eve? I should spend it partying, right? An average American spends his New Year's Eve drinking and partying. So if I want to be 100% American, I have to go that way. But being a Muslim and devout to my faith, means that I go to the center, I go to the masjid, I go to the Husayniyya, and I spend it either Laylatul Qadr in ibadah, or I spend, if it's the night of Muharram, I spend it in, for example, crying for Imam Hussein and all the other rituals that we do in the center. So what do I do here? Now you find some people, they try to be clever. You'll find them 2 hours he's partying, 2 hours he's at the masjid. And then 2 hours he's partying. He tries to keep a balance. But as we know, this is not a pragmatic solution. This is not something practical. You're going to have to choose one and sacrifice the other. And that's why we in this country, we have to know how to prioritize. That when my religion clashes with my culture, especially in the West, with my Western culture that now I associate myself with, how do I prioritize? The priority is given to which one? Now a wise person, my dear brothers and sisters, would always give the priority to the one that's most important. Which one is the most important of the two? My culture or my religion? If I stick to my culture and I'm loyal to my culture, what will I get? Will I get any reward? Nothing. It's just something that I will enjoy. But if I am loyal to my faith, this is what takes me to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is what takes me closer to God. My faith is what will decide my life in the hereafter, right? How will my hereafter be, good or bad? It depends on my faith. But what will my culture do for me? Nothing. Will my culture save me because I'm from this clan or this group or this family or this country? Will that do me any good on the Day of Judgment? Nothing. يَوْمَ لَا يَنْفَعُ مَالٌ وَلَا بَنُونَ إِلَّا مَنْ أَتَى اللَّهَ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ. On the Day of Judgment, nothing, no friend, no family member can help you. Nothing, no race, no culture. The only thing is if you come with a pure heart, with faith. And that's why a wise person would always give the priority to his faith, to Islam, if they come in a point in which they are conflicting with each other. If they come in a point in which they are clashing with each other. So when I identify myself, I say I am Muslim Arab American, Muslim Indian. I always give the priority to Islam. And thus, my dear brothers and sisters, we Muslims in the West, we have to have a strong Muslim identity. We have to be proud about being Muslims. And not only proud, we have to be loud about it. Let everybody know that you're a Muslim. I'm a Muslim. Before being American, before being an Arab, before being from whichever country I'm from in the Middle East, I am a Muslim. I have to make this clear and people have to understand this point. And this, my dear brothers and sisters, is what I want to talk about. But that you find Muslims, their weak point is this. Their weak Muslim identity. Their Muslim identity is weak. Many times we're faced with these questions. Why is it that we Muslims are not so successful as Muslims, the religion? You know, nobody respects Muslims. If on the news 100 Muslims die, nobody cares. But let someone else from another religion die, astaghfirullah, the whole entire world will go crazy if a person dies from another religion. But let 1,000 Muslim dies, nobody cares. Nobody cares about Muslims. Look at the Muslims in the US. We said how many? 6 to 7 million Muslims in the US. They don't even, affect as much as a drop in the ocean. Nothing. You find that they have absolutely no effect in this country. Why? Why are we Muslims always so behind? Why is it? For what reason? You find one of the major reasons why Muslims are behind in this country, it's because of this point. Their weak Muslim identity. A Muslim in this country, I'm speaking in general, not everyone, but majority of the Muslims that I see, a lot of them, you'll find, they have a weak Muslim identity. He's not proud about being a Muslim. He's not loud about it. He's always trying to conceal the fact that he's a Muslim. He's trying to change his name. From Muhammad, he changes it to whatever, to an American name, so that he could blend in and hide the fact that he's a Muslim. Why? Either he wants to blend in or he's embarrassed in front of the non-Muslims that he'll be a Muslim. The woman doesn't want to wear the hijab. The girl doesn't want to wear the hijab because she wants to fit in. I don't want people to laugh at me, look at me in a weird way. I want to fit in. I don't want to be the black sheep. They have no pride about being a Muslim. You should wear the hijab and raise your head high with pride. But no, you find many times, many Muslim girls, she's embarrassed to wear the hijab. Because I'll be looked down upon from my American friends, from my non-Muslim friends. And that's why you see they have no confidence, no courage in the fact that they are Muslim. They're always trying to hide. I saw this in my own. You see this in schools. You'll see this in the community. When it comes to non-Muslims, you'll see that in the workplace. He tries to hide the fact that he's a Muslim. She tries to hide the fact that she's a Muslim. Why? Why, my dear brothers and sisters? When I know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is with me, should anything else matter? Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam, he says, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. In the beautiful dua of Dua Arafah, he says some words that are so beautiful, my dear brothers and sisters. He says in Dua Arafah, Ilahi, ماذا وجد من فقدك? What has that person gained if he loses you? وماذا فقد من وجدك? And what has he lost if he gained you? If I gain Allah, Allah is on my side, nothing else in the universe matters. Let the entire world see me as bad, look down upon me, but as long as Allah is happy with me, this is all I need. And let me conquer the entire world and everybody loves me, but Allah is not happy with me, I've gained nothing. Remember we mentioned a few nights ago that some people, they say unity, unity. We said unity only has value if it's with haqq. If haqq is with unity. If it's unity on batil, it has no value. So the point is haqq, truth. Even if it means division, haqq means division, so be it. The point is I be with the haqq. So even if being with the haqq, with Allah, it means that the entire world will not like me, so be it. This is what I will have to do. The Prophet tells Imam Ali, Ya Ali, la tastawhish min tariq al-haq li qillati saliki. He says, don't be afraid of the path of Allah, of the true path, because you'll see yourself lonely in it. Sometimes when you want to do the right thing, you'll see yourself all by yourself. Everybody else is doing the wrong thing. He says, don't be afraid, continue. The tariq of the haq will always be the minority. You'll be by yourself, just a few people with you. The majority are always busy chasing after their desires. They're busy chasing after their interests. They're not busy chasing after haqq, truth. They want their interests. And that's why, remember I mentioned this hadith. The Prophet, he tells Ammar, Ya Ammar, إذا رأيت الناس سلكوا واديا ورأيت عليا سلك واديا فدع الناس واسلك الوادي مع علي. He tells him that if you see all the people go one way but Ali goes the other way, go with Ali. Don't care about the people. Allah, he condemns the majority in many verses in the Quran. بل أكثرهم لا يعلمون بل أكثرهم للحق كارهون. Allah, he always says that the majority are always going the wrong way. So if you saw yourself by yourself, that doesn't mean I should be afraid. As long as Allah is with me, that's all I need. Imam Ali, he says in one tradition, he says that Al-Haq lam yubqa li sadiq. Because I stayed with haqq, I lost all my friends. Why? Because your friends sometimes they want connections, they want you to, treat them better than others, they want you to forget about the haqq and treat them good. The Imam said, never. I treat everyone with haqq, with justice. And many people are not going to like that, they're going to leave you. The Imam says, I had no friends. Look at how many companions at the end of his life he had. The rest of the Imams, Imam al-Hasan, they say he had 5 companions only. 5, 6 companions, less than the fingers of the human being. Why? It's because once you're with the truth, people will leave you. They want interests. They want you to side with their interests, not with the haqq. So when it comes to this matter and being proud about being a Muslim, I shouldn't care about the people. You see, in one tradition it's narrated that the Prophet said, لا يبلغ العبد حقيقة الإيمان حتى يرى الناس كالأباعر في جنب الله. It's a little harsh, but it's true. The Prophet, it's narrated that he said, a person will not become a true mu'min until he sees people like camels in front of Allah. If I compare the people to Allah, they are not worth even as small as a camel. Now if you see a camel laughing at you, or a camel's not happy with you, will you care? Let's say a camel doesn't like the way that I'm dressed. Will you care? You don't care. The Prophet says that this is how you see the people in front of Allah. He's not saying disrespect the people. He says if the people go against Allah, they're not even worth camels. So if there's 2 ways in front of me, one way Allah will be pleased, one way the people, who cares about the people? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is what matters. And this is what we have to keep in mind, that when it comes to faith, I give the priority to faith, to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But unfortunately, the weak spot of the Muslims, we surrender so quickly. We relinquish so quickly. We want to compromise so quickly. As soon as we face a challenge, as soon as we're threatened, we want to compromise our faith. We want to find excuses to, to compromise my faith and surrender. While we have the best example, our Prophet, Allah says, لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ. The best example is in Rasulullah. You find that he had so many hardships when he promoted Islam. They used to call him names, insult him, throw rocks at him. They used to bother him. They tried to assassinate him. They waged wars against him. But did Rasulullah surrender? Did he say, because I have so many enemies and they're insulting me and it's so difficult and they're looking me in a weird way, I'm going to stop? Never. He insisted. He insisted and insisted with perseverance. He had patience. In the end, he was the one that prevailed. He came back a few years after and he conquered Mecca. If someone sticks to his principles and has perseverance and patience, in the end, and he's with Allah, Allah will give him the triumphant. He will make him the triumphant. He will make him prevail in the end. But it requires patience. It requires perseverance. So anytime we're faced with a challenge in this country, we shouldn't just say, oh, I have to compromise. A brother once, he asked me that I have a business meeting tomorrow. He asked me this question. And it's going to be with a lot of, big CEOs of companies and very wealthy people. And it's a very important meeting. He says, on the table, there's going to be alcohol. Can I sit with them or not? You see, it is haram to sit on a table that alcohol is being served. Even if I don't drink, but it's the same table, I'm not allowed to sit. Why? Because this means that this haram act is being committed and I'm just quiet about it. One of our furu' ad-din is what? One of the branches of religion, one of the wajibat is al-amru bil-ma'ruf wal-nahyu 'anil munkar. Anytime you see good, you enjoin it. Anytime you see bad, you forbid it. So you can't just say, I'm a good person and that's it. You're a good person, you don't do bad, and you forbid the bad anytime you see it. So this, Allah considers as a type of encouragement to drinking. If beers or alcohol is on the table, I can't sit with it. So he tells me, he knows this hukum, he knows this law. He says, tomorrow it's a very important meeting. And I know there's going to be alcohol on it after, maybe. So can I sit just for once? Because it's very important. Right away he wants to compromise. He wants to surrender. He tells me, if I tell them this is my religion, they're going to look at me in a negative way. They might not promote me, whatever. He has no courage in Allah. He has no trust in Allah. He's always so afraid, like a coward, that the people will look down upon me. He's not afraid of Allah, that if he sits on the table, he's committing haram and Allah is not happy. Who cares? As long as the people are happy, I'm fine. This is how some of us, we treat Allah. We don't care about Allah. And what He thinks, all we care about is what people think. And we're always trying to please people, even if it's at the price and cost of displeasing Allah. So you know what I told him? I told him that why are you all of a sudden you want to surrender so quickly? Why do you want to compromise so quickly? Why don't you have courage and stand in front of them? Tell them, this is my religion. And my religion says no, like it or not. If they accept it, oh well. If they didn't, let them not accept it. Make Allah happy. This is the person that matters to you, not the people. And then I gave him an example. I told him, imagine if it was a Jew. What would the Jew do? Would he say, you know what? Let me compromise. Let me go home that day. Let me sit on the table? Never. If there is any time that there is something against his faith, he will say, no, I'm a Jew and this is not allowed, and people respect him. Why? Why do people respect the Jews, not the Muslims? You know why? Because they don't compromise. They're so courageous about being a Jew. I'm a Jew. This is my religion, the Jewish religion, and it says this, and I can't do anything about it. Too bad. I'm not going to change. You're going to have to adapt to my way. Now when they do it once, 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times, people are going to respect them, and then they're going to see this is a reality. Jews have principles, and we respect people's principles. People that have principles are respected. Maybe the first year, the 5th year, the 10th year, the first time is going to be difficult. In the end, they're going to see these people are what? They have principles. They're not going to back off so easily. A Muslim, he backs off so easily. So is anyone going to respect me as a Muslim? No. If he threatens me with the smallest threat, I'm going to back off. If he just a small challenge I'm faced, we back off. So where's the Muslim identity? Why don't we learn from the Jews? We just criticize the Jews and we speak negatively. Let's learn from them. They're all united as Jews. Their Jewish identity is so strong. Sit with a Jew for 3 minutes, he'll tell you, I'm a Jew. Why? Because he's so proud about being a Jew. While a Muslim, yeah, my name is Michael. My name is Alex, while his real name is Muhammad and Ali. Why are you trying to hide behind these fake names? Tell them I'm a Muslim. No, he's afraid, he's shy about it. But the Jew, he'll keep his name, you know, whatever his name is, Joshua, Zachariah, whatever, and he's so proud about it. I remember when Al Gore, he wanted to become the president, when he ran to become the president in 2000 against Bush, his vice president was Lieberman. Everybody knows he's a Jew, right? I remember that Lieberman, he said that if I become the vice president, I will never work on any Saturday. He was so courageous about it. You know, you have to work, if there's work, you have to work any day. He said, Saturday, I'm not going to work. When I heard that, I imagined with myself, if it was a Muslim, would he dare say, I will never work on Friday? No, this is the US. We don't live in Pakistan. We don't live in Iraq. He's always trying to make excuses about what? About being weak when it comes to his faith. But the Jew, he's so strong. And that's why people respect him. That's why when they want something, they get it. Your haqq, your rights are not going to be given to you in a gold platter. You have to chase. You have to go and take your haqq. We Muslims want people to give us our haqq. We want to sit down, comfortably relax, and here you go. This is your haqq. This is your right. The Jew, he goes after it. He's so courageous about it. They're united and they have such a strong Jewish identity, and that's why they're successful. If it's salat time, I'm in the airport, what do? Should I just put my rug and pray in front of the people? Some Muslims, they're shy, they're embarrassed. You know, they're going to look at me in a bad way. I'm a terrorist, I'm this. Who cares about them? Allah wants you to pray, you pray. You're not bothering anyone. You're not hurting anyone. You're just practicing your own way, your own faith. Some brothers, they tell me, I have a meeting tomorrow, I'm going to meet a woman, I'm going to have to shake her hand. What do? If I don't extend my hand, she's going to feel insulted. So let me keep her happy, let me shake her hand and do the haram, and in the end I'll displease Allah. Who cares about Allah? All I care about is the people. Once again, remember that all we care about is what people think about us. I don't want to insult this woman, but let me insult Allah. Who cares about Allah? Let him feel insulted. Let him feel that he's telling me this is haram. I don't care. Just to please one of his creation, I'm willing to displease Allah. And you don't even have to insult her. There's so many ways you can get out of it. Put your hand on the chest, explain to that person. They'll understand, this is my religion, sorry. If it was a Jew, this was what he would have been done, and they'll respect him. But me, a Muslim, I'm always trying to make an excuse. No, they're not going to accept me, this. I always want to relinquish and compromise my faith. And then we ask, why are we Muslims so weak? And thus you find sometimes when I'm asked, especially by the young ones, sometimes they ask me, is it okay for us Muslims in the West to celebrate the non-Muslim holidays, like Christmas? I remember once a young guy, he came and he asked me, a young boy, can we celebrate Christmas or not? He wants to bring the Christmas tree and he wants to bring Santa Claus and everything else and celebrate Christmas. Is it halal or haram to do that? And you see, usually I don't give them the fiqh answer, the jurisprudence answer, because as long as you don't do anything haram, you don't drink or do anything haram, it's okay, you could celebrate it. There's nothing wrong with it. But I tell them, look at it in a higher level, intellectually. Do you, a Muslim, do you need to celebrate other people's holidays? You don't have your own holidays to celebrate? Ask a typical American, what is he celebrating in Christmas? Most of them, they'll tell you, we don't even know. Just everyone's doing it, it's Christmas. If he's a faithful Christian, he'll tell you it's the birthday of Jesus. So you Muslim, when you want to celebrate the birthday of Jesus, I tell you that you don't have your own people to follow, your own prophet to follow. Jesus is a prophet, we respect him, we love him. But we have a prophet that's greater than Jesus, and that's Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. We have the Imams of Ahlul Bayt, 12 Imams and Fatimatu Zahra, all greater than Jesus. So how come it's when the birthday of Prophet Muhammad comes, you don't see anyone celebrating? Or only a minority, 50 people, they come to the center. But when Christmas comes, everyone wants to celebrate the birthday of Jesus. When I have the best religion, and I have the best leaders, I want to leave that and go take from others? I don't have my own leaders? Ask the young ones, when's the birthday of your prophet? Many of them tell you, I don't know. I remember once I was asking this question in a crowd, all young guys, all Muslims. When's the birthday of our prophet? Only out of 200 people, 10 people rose their hands. But ask them, when's the birthday of Jesus? They all know, it's 25 December, as they claim. That's what they say. So when it comes to my prophet, I don't want to celebrate anything. But when it comes to the other prophet, Jesus, he's a prophet, but he's He's not my prophet, my most important prophet. I want to celebrate all of a sudden. So I tell those people, if you want to celebrate Christmas, listen carefully for the young ones. If you want to celebrate Christmas and bring the Christmas tree and Santa Claus, whatever, do it. But when the birthday of the prophet comes, you bring a Christmas tree 5 times bigger than the one for Jesus, and you bring a Santa Claus 5 times fatter for the prophet. That's the only way that you're going to be just towards your prophet. Or else if I just want to put my decorations and lights, Christmas, but when the 17th of Rabi' comes, nothing. I don't even know is this a Muslim? Why do I even call myself a Muslim? When the mid-Sha'ban comes, and that's the birthday of our Imam, the 12th Imam, many people, they have no clue. And he wants to celebrate Christmas. So you want to celebrate Christmas, fine, but celebrate the birth of your Prophet, of Imam Ali, of Fatima, all the Imams, and especially Imam al-Mahdi, the 12th Imam, Nima Sha'ban. You have your own holidays. When the day of Eid al-Ghadir comes, celebrate it. That according to the ahadith, Eid al-Ghadir is the greatest holiday of Allah, the greatest. It's greater than Eid al-Fitr, Eid al-Adha, and any other Eid. That day comes, the Muslim has no clue, and he wants to celebrate Christmas. So celebrate those. After you celebrated those, then come and tell me out. You're going to have too many celebrations, you're not even going to have time to celebrate Christmas. You have 12 Imams, 14 Ma'sumin, and you have so many other holidays to celebrate. You won't have time. Sometimes I think about it. Have you ever seen a Jew celebrating Christmas? You have? But how many? Minority, right? How many? Minority. 5% of the Jews. Why? Because it's the birthday of Jesus that they don't accept. That in reality they called him a liar, because when he came, they said, you're a liar, not a prophet, because they believed in Musa. So maybe he's just going with the flow because in America everyone does it. But you'll find a minority of the Jews that will do Christmas because they have their own holidays. They have Hanukkah, they have I don't know what, so many other religious holidays. They're not going to come celebrate. And if they do, a minority. But the Muslim, he always wants to celebrate this and that. It's as if he doesn't have his holidays. And once I was in Florida speaking in one place, close to Miami, the Muslims there, they told me that here, the Jews are very strong. It's in one place, one city, one area, it's mostly Jews. And the city council is all Jews, majority Jews, that they are so powerful there, they told me, that they were able to pass a law in that city that bans the Christmas tree in Christmas in the public. So no Christmas tree in the public. That's what they told me. So they said, if you come in Christmas, you will not see one Christmas tree in the public. You can do it in your house, but not in the public, because they're the majority. And this is in the United States of America. But we Muslims, we want to go take those Christmas trees and celebrate it. And then we say, why are the Jews so successful? And why are the Muslims so behind? 6 million Jews in America, 6 million Muslims. You see the difference between quantity and quality? You see, we're the same amount, but we're nothing. We're not even a drop in the ocean in the US, and they own everything. Why? Blame yourselves. We have to blame ourselves, my dear brothers and sisters, because we have no Muslim identity, no strong Muslim identity. We're always trying to make excuses. We're not courageous about being Muslim. And this is a problem that many Muslims in the West have. So my dear brothers and sisters, if any time in the West, if any time we want any progress, we have to begin with ourselves. We have to begin by acknowledging that I have the best religion, and it's the religion of Islam, and I have the best leaders, and I start from then on. And it's not easy. No one said that it's going to be easy. It's going to be difficult, especially here in the US. Muslim is looked down upon, terrorists, violence, whatever. And it's not going to be easy. The hadith of the Prophet, in one hadith, he says, يَأْتِي عَلَى النَّاسِ زَمَانٍ الصابر منهم على دينه كالقابض على الجمرة. He says, a time will come upon my nation in which it will be so difficult to stay as a good Muslim. It will be as difficult as holding a burning charcoal. Is that difficult? That's very difficult. You can't hold a charcoal for a second. So being a good, patient, devout Muslim at times will be more difficult than that. But that doesn't give me the excuse to say, okay, then because it's so difficult, I'm just going to stop. No, I shouldn't be a quitter. I shouldn't surrender right away just because there's some challenges. I have to continue with perseverance and persist. In the end, I'll become triumphant. When the people see that Muslims will not back down, they're going to respect us. When they see Muslims back down, they're not going to respect us, because they say as soon as we threaten them, as soon as we don't respect their rights, they're just all gonna back down. and say, okay, fine, we're going to relinquish. We're not going to pray. When I want to pray in work, I need 5 minutes. The boss tells me no. I tell him I'm not going to come work. I do it, maybe I'm going to lose. But imagine if every Muslim does that in the US, then everyone's going to know if he's a Muslim, we have to give him his time, 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes to pray. Don't make an excuse. Why don't you pray? So many brothers, they don't pray or they pray very late because I have work. So work is always the excuse. You know, there's a beautiful, I heard a statement in Farsi about this. It says in Farsi, if I just can get it right, it says, Nagu bekar, nagu be namaz kar daram. Begu bekar namaz daram. If anyone that understands Farsi, don't tell Salah that I have work. Sorry, Salah, I have to postpone you because I have work. Tell work, sorry, I have to leave you because I have Salah. So why is always work the excuse? And Salah is not the excuse for leaving work. We're always afraid. If we have that courage, we're going to be progressing. We're going to be successful as Muslims as a whole in the West. Just as I said, look at the Jews. They are always courageous about their identity. And here, my dear brothers and sisters, we can do two things in order to fix the image of Muslims. As I said, you know, here so many people have done injustice towards our religion and people don't understand Islam and whatever. So we have to do two things. Number one, the best way in which we could promote our faith in this religion is that we have to spread awareness. You see, most Americans, most non-Muslims, they don't know anything about Islam. You know, I read in one survey, it said that they did a survey about Islam. 60% of Americans said we don't know anything about Islam. We don't know anything. You know, 1.5 billion Muslims in the world. 1/5 of the world is Muslims, 1/4. They don't know anything about it. And listen, it's so funny. It said that 10% of the people in this survey, they thought that Muslims worship the moon. Can you believe that? Because every year before Ramadan, everyone's searching for the moon. And especially for the Eid. We want to eat one day faster, so everyone's out there looking for the moon. So people are ignorant. They don't know what Islam is. And this is our fault. Before, as I spoke about this a few nights ago, before we blame others, the enemies, we have to blame ourselves. Because we don't do anything. We don't promote our faith. How are people going to know about my faith if I'm just busy with my own life? If I don't tell people, if I don't promote, if I don't advertise and market my religion, nobody's going to know about it. This country is all about advertising and marketing. If you have the worst product, but you know how to market it good, people are going to buy it, right? But if you have the best product and you don't market it, you don't advertise for it, nobody's going to buy it. Islam is the best religion. It has the best content, but no, we don't know how to promote it. We don't know how to advertise for it. We don't know how to market it. It's always the guy with the long beard, he's the one that's doing the advertising, and people are not going to be appealed to that. He's not appealing to the people. While you find other religions that have nothing, they don't make any sense, you find, but because they have good marketing, people, oh, this is a beautiful religion of mercy and love and whatever. So it's our fault. We have to promote and propagate for our religion. And the best way, I spoke about this, the best way to do that is through your actions. I spoke about that a week ago maybe. The best way to bring people to faith is through your actions. They say actions speak louder than words, right? So if you are a good Muslim and you stick to the teachings of Islam, people will say, look, Muslims are the best people. They never bother anyone. They never hurt anyone. They never insult. They're this. They're honest. They're trustworthy. People are going to say, Muslims are good. Even if the media says Muslims are all terrorists and violent, but we're looking at them. I see my neighbor is a Muslim. He's the best neighbor. He never bothers me. This is the best way I could do da'wah, propagation for my religion. But if I'm a bad Muslim, and so many times I go to some communities, they tell me, unfortunately, and I see this also, that the Arabs or the Muslims or whatever, they have a very bad reputation. Because they all lie to the insurance companies. He goes and burns his house. And then he wants to get some money, but then they know. They're not stupid. They're going to know that you did it on purpose. They do it all the time. They get a bad image that Muslims are this. Or for example, you find that the Muslims, they have all bad jobs. See what I mean? They don't have the good jobs. And so on and so forth. So you find Muslims themselves, they're not acting and behaving in a way in which it reflects their religion. If I act in a good way, remember the story I mentioned of that Turkish guy with the Jewish young boy? He didn't say anything, but because of his actions, his akhlaq, he brought that person to Islam. And that person believed in Islam. The Imam says, كُونُوا لَنَا دُعَاةً صَامِتِينَ بِغَيْرِ أَلْسِنَتِكُمْ. That you could be silent propagators and bring people to the faith. And when I begin to become bad, that will reflect on my religion. So it's not just me being bad as a Muslim. I'm doing damage to my faith, to the faith of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I have to be very careful with all my actions in front of non-Muslims. So this is number one, through our actions. And number two, my dear brothers and sisters, is that all of us here, and this is especially for the young ones, when I seek higher education and I get a good job and I become successful in the future, inshallah, all of you become successful, that your duty is to always make sure that once you become successful, that the world knows, the non-Muslims, the US knows that you're a Muslim successful American. You see, most people think that Muslims are not successful. Muslims always take the bad jobs. Why? Because you find there's a lot of successful Muslims, but you can't tell he's a Muslim because he changes his name to Michael and Alex and John and whatever. And he doesn't say anything about Islam. He doesn't pray. Nothing that shows through his actions he's Muslim. And he hides the fact that he's Muslim. He's a successful doctor. He's a successful businessman. But he hides it. He doesn't have pride about being a Muslim. Who's the ones in this country, you know who are the ones that have pride about being Muslims and they're always doing dua and they have a long beard and everything? The ones that work in the gas stations as cashiers and as janitors. The Muslims that take these jobs, you find them, they're such good Muslims and they want everyone to know they're Muslims. So when a non-Muslim says, it's like all the Muslims, they take the filthy jobs, the bad jobs. There's no successful Muslims. While there is, it's just they hide it or they don't care about saying that I'm a Muslim. While when you go to the Jew, sit with him 2 minutes, he'll tell you I'm a Jew, directly or indirectly. Why is it that everyone knows Steven Spielberg is a Jew? Larry King is a Jew. The owner of Starbucks is a Jew. The owner of Dell is a Jew. Everybody knows this. Why? They want to make sure that the world knows that we successful Jews are Jews. We're not successful Americans. We're successful Jewish Americans. Not all Jews are successful, but all Jewish successful people, they all make sure that the world knows that we're Jews. A Muslim, he'll be successful, but you don't know he's a Muslim. You think he's an American. Even us Muslims, we have a hard time in telling, is he a Muslim or is he an American? Because he's a second, third generation Muslim in this country. So my job is to always make sure to tell the world that no, that I am a successful, that Muslims are not just the ones that are taking the bad jobs, the low class jobs. There are lots of successful Muslims. When they come to my office, I have to have a big Ayatul Kursi, a big, a picture of Imam Ali. Just make sure without the sword or else they're they begin to accuse you of being terrorists or whatever. Let them know that I'm a Muslim. Keep your name, your beautiful names of our Imams. There are a lot of Muslim successful people, but we just don't know about them. That's unfortunate. I'll just give you a few examples and we'll end with this. Just some names of some successful Muslims that some of you don't even know. Number one, the famous website eBay. Every one of you, I bet, has bought something from eBay in his life. Do you know it was started by a Muslim man? And it's owned till this day by a Muslim man? Now, what do I mean by Muslim? See, he may not be practicing Muslim, but the point is he's Muslim. He's a Muslim. His parents were Muslim. He's Muslim. He may not be practicing, but the point, you see the Jews, a lot of them, they're not practicing Jews, but the point is he has the identity that I'm Jew. Even if he's not practicing. Remember Madoff? He was a Jew, but he was not practicing. He stole $50 billion, but they still say he's a Jew. So Muslim, I mean, he doesn't have to be someone that, prays or does, as long as he's a Muslim. That's enough. That's enough. eBay is owned and started by a man by the name of Pierre Omidyar. He's an Iranian man. Now he's not practicing, as I said, but he's Muslim. He comes from Muslim origin. This is number one. But nobody knows that. You know why? Because when I was searching for it, there's nowhere on his site, his biography, he says I'm Muslim. I had to search for an hour to see if this guy's a Muslim or not. That you'll find one blog that says, yeah, this guy's a Muslim. But because he's from Iran, I want to make sure that he's not a Jew or Christian or something. He comes from Muslim parents. But he doesn't say that. But go to the Jewish guy's website, right away. He comes from Jewish parents. He was born to Jewish parents. He wants to make sure that I'm Jewish. I'm not just a successful American. Number two, YouTube. Who hasn't watched YouTube? Videos on YouTube. Every day we watch tens of videos on YouTube. It was co-founded by a Muslim man from Bangladesh. His name is Jawad Karim. He was one of the co-founders of YouTube, but we don't know that. Number three, the Coca-Cola company. Who doesn't love drinking Coca-Cola, right? Fortunately, in this masjid, we didn't see Coca-Cola any night, but in your suhoor, drink Coca-Cola. Who doesn't love drinking it? The CEO of the Coca-Cola company in the world is a Muslim man. We don't know that. Why? Because he also tries. He doesn't say, I'm Muslim. He's an American successful person. You either could tell through his name, or sometimes they change even their names. You have to dig into his history and find out, no, this guy's a Muslim. It's a Turkish man by the name of Muhtar Kent that comes from Muslim origin. The famous store that it's in every mall almost, BB, you know it? B-E-B-E, that's how they pronounce it, BB, the clothes store. This is also founded and owned by a Muslim Iranian man by the name of Mani Mash'ouf. As I said, probably all of these people are not practicing Muslims, but they're Muslims anyway. But many people don't know that. One Iranian man by the name of Hussein Islambulchi. From his name, it's obviously Islambulchi. I mean, it's obvious. He's one of the most, just write it and you could read it on Wikipedia. He's one of the most prominent scientists of the 21st century. He lives in Texas. He's the chief technology officer of AT&T. He's Muslim. Now this guy, alhamdulillah, he kept his name. And finally, a man by the name of Omid Kurdistani. He's also Iranian. He's a senior advisor and a vice president in Google. And they say he's worth almost $1 billion. He's Muslim, but unfortunately not practicing, and he doesn't have a strong Muslim identity like all of these people. That they don't make sure that people find out that I'm Muslim, that there are successful Muslims. So many, but unfortunately we don't know about them. And finally, I forgot about this one. A man by the name of Fuad Al-Hibri. And he is the CEO of Bioport, and he was able, through his company, he's the only provider of this vaccine for anthrax. You know anthrax? Remember a few years ago? Excuse me, I'm sorry. There was so much chaos about anthrax. He's the only company in the world to make a vaccine for anthrax is by this guy, this Muslim, Fuad Al-Hibri. So there's a lot of successful Muslims. We just don't know about them. The Jews, they make sure that when he's successful, tell the world that I'm a successful Jew. He'll mention it at least once a year. He'll mention it throughout his programs. So this is how, my dear brothers and sisters, we Muslims are able to promote our faith, promote our religion. In this way, by showing the world through our actions that we Muslims are not terrorists. We're peaceful people. And this is not just something that we're trying to tell them, you know. This is something that really reflects our religion. So it's not like we're pretending just to convince the non-Muslims. This is our faith. It's all about peace and love. And number two, that if I become a Muslim one day, a successful Muslim one day, I make sure that I keep my Muslim name, and I make sure that I am proud and loud about being a Muslim. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept our a'mal and to give us the success in this country, all of us, and to give us the courage to stay as Muslims and promote our faith in any way we can. Let us end by reciting this dua 5 times for anyone that is sick and needs our dua, and especially our dear brother Shakil. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Amman yujibu al-mudtarra idha da'ah wa yakshifu as-su'. Amman yujibu al-mudtarra idha da'ah wa yakshifu as-su'. Amman yujibu al-mudtarra idha da'ah wa yakshifu as-su'. أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء أمن يجيب المضطر إذا دعاه ويكشف السوء يا الله اللهم اغفر للمؤمنين والمؤمنات الأحياء منهم والأموات تابع اللهم بيننا وبينهم بالخيرات اللهم عجل لوليك الفرج واجعلنا من أنصاره وأعوانه والمستشهدين بين يديه والأرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات نهدي ثواب الفاتحة مع الصلوات. Brothers and sisters, I just want to remind you that I wanted to tell you this last night, I forgot, that the 3 nights, 13, 14, 15th of Ramadan are called the Layali al-Bid, the nights of Bid, and it is highly, highly recommended to read Dua al-Mujir. It'll take you just 5 minutes, tonight and tomorrow night. Read Dua al-Mujir. If you read the thawab, the reward for it, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. It's in Mafatih al-Jinan. It'll take you 5 minutes. Tonight, read Dua al-Mujir, and tomorrow night. This is only 3 times out of the year that in Mafatih al-Jinan he says. The best time to read it is 13th, 14th, and 15th, 9th of Ramadan. So yesterday you were supposed to read it, tonight and tomorrow. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.